Welcome, Chaitali.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of eLearning interviews. Today's guest, Chaitali Pal Chowdhury, is a certified learning and development professional, and she is currently a learning solutions architect. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in English Literature. She is highly skilled in learning management. Chaitali has been in the learning industry for over 22 years, and she comes with core instructional design and learning solution capabilities. She has broad experience designing learning solutions for corporates, higher ed, and K-12 requirements. Thank you, Chaitali, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Suchitra. Thank you for having me as your first guest. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
Yes.
So, Chaitali, what is your typical workday like? What tasks take most of your time?
Okay. Let me just take you through the entire day. So initially, when I was an instructional designer, when I was junior and I was still learning the trade, I'm still learning though. It used to be mostly of, being briefed about the project, and then you start with the storyboarding, learning the guidelines, the standards that we need to follow. And it used to be then after that you get into storyboarding, reviews, fixes and stuff. Now, since it is a more senior position in the company, it is more of, where you study for request for proposals, then you have design brainstorming meetings, then you would be thinking about certain strategies and you would be discussing it with your team of what new types of strategies we would like to implement in your course. And also, sometimes it would have, you would be having extensive meetings with clients to understand their requirement, to discuss with them what they want to do, why exactly the training is required, and stuff like that. So a lot of time goes in meetings, as in brainstorming and discussions, and also with client consultation. So that takes the most part of our, the part of the workday as such, if you would call. Plus, other than that, you have designing also. There's a lot of documentation which needs to be done, because as you know that, when it's not just storyboarding which is documented, but you need to think about the design and you need to document it properly so that it can be applied across the projects. So a lot of time goes in documenting the designs, getting it approved by the client, giving them walkthroughs, explaining to them why we have done certain things, clarifying their comments, clarifying our questions also. If we have to do any question, we have questions on the content maybe, or of the requirement itself. So a lot of time goes in this, rather than, so my 70% of my time goes in doing all of this. And then you do a little bit of storyboarding also, because that is something which you don't want to let go of, obviously. And reviewing also. Once the product is done, then you do an ID review. So a lot of reviews are also done on storyboards, on the completed products. So yeah, that's how the entire day is placed out, in the office.
Yeah. And you have a BA in English Literature.
Yes.
How does that help you in your current role?
See, literature is always something because it gives you the grasp of the language. Yeah. So you know exactly what type of language to use. When you're talking about UK English, what type of language should I use? When you're talking about US English, what type of language clients prefer? So literature, your English literature background would give me that kind of, as you say, the insight to look into it. But after that, literature hasn't played much of a part in it, though a lot of teaching background does help. Yeah. So if you would ask me, like my previous experiences as a teacher, as because you understand the concept of teaching, right? So though I was a teacher for young kids, I used to teach computers at a time when computers were not so much as like what it is right now.
Yeah.
So, it was very tough going up to a standard 1 level child, explaining to them what a computer is, explaining, because they had never been exposed. The only place they have seen the computer is in the school lab.
Yeah.
So to explain to them what it is and draw parallels, when we used to do that, I never realized I was actually doing instructional designing then. Like when you say Garnier's events, the first thing that you do is recall.
Yeah.
So I used to make them recall, have you seen a TV at home? So the computer screen is like a TV. And when you are typing on your keyboard, that time there was those separate keyboards. So they used to be like, okay, miss, what is this? So I used to tell them about, how in the phone, when you have to call a number, you type out numbers and then it connects, right? So like this over here also, when we have to communicate with the computer, we use our keyboards. So it was all based on their experience, which they have already been exposed to, drawing parallels with them to explain. Like, what is a computer? How does it work? So when you are thinking in your brain, when Miss asks you a question, you think and then you answer, right? So that is your brain working. So that is the CPU of the computer. The computer also has a brain, which when you ask a question, it processes and then it gives you the answer. So we had to draw parallels at that time that way. So it actually was, I was following Ganya's 9 events without even understanding it, without even knowing about it. So that was a big thing. So you understand how to approach different kinds of content. Like if I am teaching English, I used to teach English also. So I cannot teach them in a way of like the way I'm teaching them computers. That has to be more of theory and explaining. And for 9 and 10, they had, ICSE has a one portion of it, 40% marks on theory. But I didn't want to do theory like, just stand in front of the class and just give them one big lecture about the history of computers or something like that. So what I used to do at that time, I used to divide the class into groups and I used to give them topics that you will talk about this age of the computers, history of computers. Another group would get another part of it. So like I used to break it up. And then they used to, and we did not have Google at that time. So they actually had to go down to libraries, read their books and get information and then come and present in the class. So it was not like just one child doing it. The rest of the class used to question. And I used to mark them on that, how they're asking questions and also how they're answering. And in case if, somebody is not able to answer, then I used to then jump in and explain what the concept is and all. So that way, when they are doing it themselves, they learn better. History of computers otherwise is a very boring subject, really. History itself is not that interesting as such. But when you do it in this manner, where they get invested in their learning. So at that stage also, I was looking at, how to get my learners invested in their own learning, which is something I've carried over till now. Now, how do I make my learners get interested? Like, why should I learn it? We are taught about what is in it for me. So why should I learn this? So that is what I used to be doing at that stage also. If they know that they have to appear for an exam, so they have to learn this. But how to make it more interesting? I used to hold quizzes, and in front of the whole school, they used to have a quiz competition on computers, and then whoever wins gets some sort of a voucher or something. We used to give them a prize, a small trophy, which they also used to display in the class. So that has helped me now when I do, create activities. I keep this in mind when I do it. Interestingly, I was also a dubbing director at one point of my time. And I feel that also has helped me, because over there I had to read scripts, right? And then there were seasoned actors, of course, who used to come and do the voicing. But there were a lot of people who were doing new. They were doing it for the first time. Kids were there, so how do you approach the kids? How do you handle them? How do you teach them that, you have to speak in this way? So that is also a kind of teaching. So different audiences, different learners at every stage of my life. And that is the learning which has helped me to come this far. I try to bring all these experiences into my learning. I try to, when I create these strategies, I think, if I put myself in their place, why should I be learning this? This is something which nobody will, clients are not very keen. I'm jumping into another topic over here that, clients don't, we have a requirement, this training is required. Nobody asks why. Why do you think this training is required? We say, okay, you have a training requirement. We do a basic training analysis. That is, of course, every company does. Like, what they're doing, why should this training be done? How will the training help? But there is no depth in asking what is the change in performance. Why do you need the training? is it really going to impact, or is it just a tick mark on your checklist that I have a list of training this year to make, and so this is one of the training, and tick mark is there because the training is done. But has it really impacted the learner? That is where I would like to go.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so that is my like an aim which I want to reach, that.
Yeah.
That, you know, has this training actually impacted? Has it done what it was required to be done? Right?
Yeah. So you're a learning solutions architect. How is that different from instructional design?
It is not actually. It is, these are all designations in different companies. Okay, let me be very clear.
Yeah.
I'm still an instructional designer, because when I'm doing, it's learning solutions. Basically, what you are doing is you are helping the company provide solutions to the client. So learning solutions. An architect is something, you know, who creates.
Yeah.
Right. So it is not just at the bottom ground level creation.
Yeah.
It is when you are seeing the overall picture, you know, like an architect, when he or she designs a building.
Yeah.
Right. So it is not just one room that I am designing.
Yeah.
I am designing the entire maybe building. I am designing the entire resort, or maybe I am designing a business park. So over there, I will have to look at all the different aspects, not just one portion of it.
Yeah.
So when an instructional designer is like that, so every instructional designer has to look at the bigger picture. Yeah. So that it is not that, okay, only this part of it I'm doing, but how does it relate to the rest of it?
Yeah.
Right? Relate to the rest of my training plan. Does it have any impact? Like suppose we are talking about designing a sales training. So a sales training does not have only just one module or one topic. You know, sales training is like huge.
Yeah.
Every company has a different kind of take on sales training, right? So it is when you are looking, I am not looking at just one topic or one module. I am looking at the bigger picture. That is why I am known as this learning solutions architect.
Yeah.
Because I am seeing the bigger picture. How is this module plugging in with the rest of the plan?
Yeah.
So if I'm doing sales training, what are the steps that I am doing? So I have to look at step 1, 2, 3, 4. So I am designing the overall plan for the entire course, or the entire training plan that they want to do, the entire learning journey, as we call it.
Yeah.
So it is not just one part of it, but it is designing the entire journey. So that's the reason we have this term, which has come up quite recently, actually, where we use architecting in learning designs also. Because you are just not doing one bit of it, you are designing the entire plan. You're doing a blueprint.
Yeah.
Right? On which your instructional designers will create their solutions. They will create their storyboards, their different builds of it, so that it all together, when it comes, it forms the big picture.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it is learning solutions architect for the company. I'm working with a company called Impulses. So they are into different kinds of, they have publishing, they have LMSs and stuff like that. So learning content is one part of it, the business. So I'm the learning solutions architect for them. So we do the strategizing, and we tell the client what type of learning programs will suit their purpose, their content, their requirement. Yeah. So that's the
And you just mentioned that you want to see whether the aim has been reached or not. So what is your next move? What is your career goal?
See, as such, the career goal to kuch hai nahi वैसे. But thing is that, you know, when I'm a lifelong learner, I always feel that I need to keep learning, you know. In fact, my husband always keeps telling me, what is this? You always keep doing some class. You are into some program, some workshop. Because I feel, you know, the more I learn, the more I need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to bring drastic changes, and I want to attain that, you know, that level where we are actually doing proper, we are contributing to the learning process, not just creating programs.
Right.
So in the way, when I am doing this, I'm achieving my objectives and career is going to be a byproduct of that, obviously, because I cannot be teaching to just blank walls. So there has to be a plan in that. But frankly speaking, if you ask me, I've never planned that I want to do this, I want to do that. Because see, even when we were in college, instructional designing in India at least was not there. That concept itself was not there. We had something called BA, which is, there is a part of instructional designing which is maybe not taught that formally, but obviously when teaching is done, some part of instructional designing is done. But we were never taught this is what instructional design is. I actually came to, when I had joined eLearning, and I used to meet people, they used to ask me, generally, you would ask, what do you do? So somebody used to say, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I used to say, I'm an instructional designer. And the first thing that people say, oh, interior designer.
Yes.
So, and I was like, no, I'm an ID. So ID means interior designing. So I was like, no, it is not interior designing. It is an instructional design. So what is that? Then I used to explain to them, this, oh, acha, it is a technical writer. And, you tell that it's like waving a red flag to a bull in front of a bull, telling an instructional designer you are a technical writer. It doesn't suit, because instructional designing is much more than that. Yeah. So it took time. People then slowly started understanding, what is instructional. Now instructional designing has become a big catchword, and people all across, especially with the pandemic, a lot of emphasis has now been given to online learning. Yes. Though I believe personally that instructional designing is not just concentrated on online courses. It has to be applied to all, whether it's in a school, in higher education, in corporate learning, face-to-face. Without instructional designing, you cannot do anything, right? Because instructional design is nothing but your form and structure. It is a logical flow that you put. You decide how should this content be taught. Like if I want to teach somebody driving a car, right? There also I'm applying the rules of instructional designing. Because can I teach the person driving a car like this, sitting on the laptop and just studying? No, I have to put that person behind the wheel of a car. And then teach them, this is the brake, this is the accelerator, this is how you do when you are changing your gears. How do you change? When do you change? That was one of the first questions I had asked my instructor. When do I know when to change my gears? So he was like, no, madam, hota hai. I said, no, you have to tell me. I need to understand that. When do I change the gear? Right? So that is also instructional designing, right? So whenever you are teaching anything, you are applying the principles of instructional design, right? So my goal as such, as I said, is not, I have, I want to become the best instructional designer in the company, not like that. It is like, I want to achieve where learning solution that I propose has that impact, and it is able to make a change in behavior. And we get results out of it. So that is my goal. Every time I take up a new program to do, that is my goal. So I would like to say that my goal is always, with every learning program, my goal changes. And that is how I go ahead.
Very, very well said, because constant learning, I think, is one of the main things for a instructional designer.
Yes,
and
that's true.
And this confusion also, even I have faced, and most instructional designers would have faced that. Are you an interior designer, instrumentation designer? So many other things come up.
IT also gets involved in this, huh? Oh, achha, there's something to do with IT, I think. So we have to say, no, nothing to do with IT. Unless you want me to teach Microsoft Word, then it is IT. Otherwise, the IT has nothing to do with IT.
And even one of my uncles, he asked me that, you don't know Java, so how can you teach Java to somebody else? To teach first, you have to know that.
Yes. This is, interestingly, you have taken up this, because recently I was reading a post on LinkedIn where the writer had said that, you need to be an expert. To be an instructional designer, you need to be an expert in that subject. I don't agree with that. Because, as instructional, it's like an actor. The actor should know acting. He should not know how to be a police inspector, or he should not know how to be a scientist.
Yes.
That is the director's job to tell him, give him the details.
Yes.
There is a person, a subject matter expert that we call,
Mhm.
has to be there, who will guide the actor, but the actor will do only the acting.
Yes.
He has to portray the role of police inspector convincingly.
Yeah.
He does not need to be a police inspector to act it out, right?
Yes.
So I believe that way. Instructional designer does not need to be an expert in the subject. They have to be expert in instructional designing.
Yes.
There's a difference, right? Because I might not know Java, as you said. You don't know Java, how you are teaching. I don't need to know, because there is a subject matter expert who is going to tell me.
Yeah.
My job is to help that subject matter expert teach properly, the correct way. Correct. So I have to tell him how Java can be taught. I will not tell him what is Java and how to teach. I will tell him how to teach it,
Yes.
not what to teach.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That is the difference. So instructional designers, actually, we are very, I would say, what do you say that word? We are very lucky.
Yeah.
Because we get to experience so many varieties of content.
Yeah.
One day I might be doing something in medical. One day I might be doing something in aviation. Next day I might be teaching, I might be creating a program on code of conduct of a company. I might be teaching something in higher education like history, maybe. So every day I am doing something different and I am learning from it, because yes, some bit of understanding needs to be there. Like if I'm teaching management, MBA students, I'm giving them certain courses, then I should be able to understand the principles of management, right? MBA principle. I should at least have an understanding. I might not be an MBA, but I might be able to understand the principles, because then that will help me to teach it better, to design my program better. I can give different kinds of solutions in that case, right? So because then I understand the business perspective, right? But having said that, I would also say, maybe I might not be an MBA, but then how do I understand? I need to speak to the business. I need to understand what happens, ask questions. I should be able to have that art of asking questions. That is very important. And ask the right questions, not faff around, like, I booked 1 hour of the client's time, so I will keep on asking all types of questions and the client gets bored of it. No, the client and you, when you have these question answer sessions, end of it, you should have a map which will take you forward and help you prepare the solution. So you get an answer, like, why is this required? How does it help the business? How is the business going to get impacted? Like I'll tell you, one of my earlier companies, I was working for, you all must have heard of Emirates Airlines, right?
Yes.
So when we were doing a particular project where maybe, like, I'm not talking about just myself, I'm talking about the entire team, over here. So they had these check-in process you have, right? So they are supposed to process customers at a particular rate, say 5 minutes. You must be not spending more than 5 minutes, right? So the client came back saying, our people are not having understanding on it. They need practice. They need to do, you have to teach them, create an online training for them. Now, in that case, what do? We have to go back and understand we have to talk to those people.
Yes.
The business, the line manager, and if possible, even the check-in people, right? The people who are doing the work actually. So you can ask them, like, what are the things that you do? Where are you struggling? What is the problem? Then you certainly find that it is not just that they do not know the system. It might be that the system is slow. Right? It might be that, the customers are not having all the documents that are required. They might be all running over the place. There might be kids over there. So the parents are actually struggling with the kids, managing them rather than paying attention to what you are asking. So there might be a document which is missing. Now, those things add up and it increases the time that you are doing. So it is just not that they do not know the system. It is because of other things also. This only comes when you start asking questions. So recently I've been reading about it a lot, and I think you might have also come across this in LinkedIn. It's become a big topic of discussion, is Kathy Moore's Map It. Action mapping, right? So action mapping is something which I'm really excited to try now, because that is not something which we have done earlier. So she has been constantly, saying this, stressing that you need to understand what is the change in the performance. Ask questions. It might be end of the day, you might end up saying, actually, there is no training required. Must be something else which is stopping them from doing their work. Right? It might be maybe they don't have the appropriate tools.
Yeah.
So as an instructional designer, your job is not just to be an order taker. You have to become their trusted partner. You have to be a partner to them. You have to tell them that, boss, you don't need a training over here. Yeah, maybe you could have some practice sessions, but you don't need a proper training because the issue is not the training. The issue is all these things. The system is slow. So you need to look at fast, making the system fast, right? Add in maybe your bandwidth is not enough. So you need to increase your bandwidth. There are other things happening. Maybe you might need somebody else also there at the desk who help the customers so that you move the line faster, right? So this is something really I am very excited to, as you said, my next goal actually is to be able to apply this action mapping in one of my projects and make a success of it, and see what the difference is.
So you have worked in corporate learning in higher ed and K-12. So how is one vertical different from the other?
That's a very good question. One of my colleague actually had put a LinkedIn post today. Only I read it in the morning. She said that, it is, how is it different? Can one person do both? It is not possible. For me, I believe it is not possible because see, when you are doing K-12, you have a different kind of audience, right? And then when K-12 and higher education, you have a different kind of audience. And then when you are doing corporate learning, adult learning, it's a very different ballgame altogether. So you have the pedagogy and the andragogy, right? So pedagogy is where we are doing with education. Because there, what happens is, they are learning because they have to learn. Correct? Like my son is going to school, he doesn't have a choice. He has to learn, right? He has to go to school. He has to do all the subjects. He has to study that because end of it, there has to be an exam. He has to pass out of school. So it is not just, it is more of knowledge based, right? And of course, there has to be some practical, some application where they understand, like, he is in IB, right? My son is studying in an IB school. Now they do a lot of application based. If you go to Bloom's level, they are not doing just like what we did in school was Bloom's level 2. We never went beyond that, except for science, where we did the experiments, little bit of application there. But otherwise, it was all Bloom's level 2. Comprehend, understand, ratta maro, and write in your exam. But now education is changing. They want to do more than that. So even, when we are looking at the higher education, they are writing dissertations, they are analyzing the content. So they are actually moving up in the Bloom's level. Right? But this is for the education part. Now, when I go to adult learning and corporate learning, it's a different ball game, as I said, because there I am not learning because I have to pass a test. Yeah, there are, like compliance exams which they have to give. That is different. But more or less, why am I learning is what is it in for me? Why should I do it? How will it help me? Because in education, it is more of pushed learning, right? But for corporate learning, it is more of pulled learning, right? So I need to pull that because I feel at this stage, I need to know this. Like suppose today I have to change my phone. Let me take a small example. I need to change my phone. So I need to set it up. Generally, now we buy phones from Amazon. It comes to you and then you do the setting up. What apps you want. Now, what I would do is generally, I would go to the YouTube. I will take out a small asking, put a search over there. Like, how do I set up, say, Vivo something or maybe an iPhone? How do I set it up? And I will see a small video. There is always a YouTube video for everything. So I would see that and then I would do my work. So that is called just-in-time learning, right? I'm pulling that course because it is there. I need to do it. And that is why I'm pulling, right? So that is the difference mainly. So when I create courses for K-12 and higher education, I have to think differently. They have to do it. How do I make it more interesting? Right? For adult education, it is a different thing, because there I have to teach particular content, and I have to see what is the best way of teaching this, and then apply the instructional design models, theories, and all that, and teach them.
Yeah.
But personally, if you ask me, I feel K-12 and higher education is more creative. Why? Because kids at that stage, they're still open to experimenting.
Yeah.
The more fun way you teach them, the better they learn.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So you can teach them through a lot of fun ways. Like history, when we used to study in school, it was like reading the book and learning the facts, and we never used to remember those dates. Till date, I can never remember. But just imagine if that same thing I would have been taught in a game, in the form of a game.
Yeah.
And every class student is given a date, a date, and they have to talk about it. Or maybe we need to Battle of Panipat. Which are the students? So every student has a year. And I want to teach them about Battle of Panipat, who were there, why was it done, and what was the year. So I might give each student one name. One student I might give the year, one student I might give who had fought in it, and where was it fought, like the details. And then I play a game asking them that if you are talking about Battle of Panipat, which are the students you would like in your group? So immediate it strikes, and you will never forget that, right? So that way I feel it is more interesting. Having said that, but again, coming back to corporate learning is where my expertise is. I feel corporate learning also now people are opening up. They don't think that, oh, you need to sit and do a click next kind of thing. People want to do more of engagement, more of learning. So gamification games and gamification has entered corporate learning also in a big way. Even the biggies in the industry, the vice presidents and above, they understand that when I am suggesting a game, it is not to make their because see, the amount of time my employee is spending on a learning program, that many hours, man hours I am losing from the business. Right? So it has to make an impact to make it worth. That is not there in your education, because over there are no man hours counted, right? But here my man hours are counted. Right? So if they should understand that, okay, they are learning this in form of a game. It is not that they are just learning like that. I'm not wasting the time. They are actually learning something. Like suppose a project management course I'm doing, and I am doing it through a game. So I can tell them, you have to get information from this. So which are the players in your team you would like to involve, who will be able to help you match this particular objective. Right? So I can make that into a game, instead of just giving them project management principle is this, and then you have to do this. This is how you fill up the Excel sheet. And it can be, that entire thing can be taught in a game. And end result, they've all achieved, right? Because they have not only learned the principles, but they've actually used it. Like a real life example. So they've actually used that principles, the content that they have learned, and they have been able to achieve their goal. So you can go back to business and tell them, see, we have given them a real life situation, and they have done it through the game, and this is what they've achieved. So tomorrow you can, this person will perform in the same way when he or she goes back into their jobs, because they've already done these things, which is actually required, not just giving theory and gyan. So that I feel is the main difference that you have. Yes, but there are overlaps always. See, like teaching is always there. In both cases, you have teaching. You will be teaching in a particular way which will suit. You will apply the instructional design models. You will apply the theories that we have learned, right? ADDIE, then Bloom's level, all those taxonomies are there. So all that is done. Then end of it, you will evaluate, right? When we are talking about Kirkpatrick, you are evaluating. Education may be kar rahe ho, you are doing it in corporate learning also. Right? So those things will be same. But the core work that you do is very different.
How it's implemented is good.
Yes, correct. That's right.
So to succeed as an ID, What is the most crucial thing, and how does one develop it?
Okay. This is again my personal experience and opinion. I am no guru in all this, but I feel that as an ID, first of all, there is a bit of theoretical knowledge which you need to have, which is very important.
Yeah.
I don't believe you need to go for certification and all that. These are all available freely in the internet.
Yeah.
Spend time reading about it, learning about it. That is very important. And try to interact with a lot of people, other instructional designers. Be part of brainstorming activities in your company or maybe within your friends. Try to become part of these instructional design communities that are there. Right? So, because when you become a part of discussion, that is when you learn.
Right.
Everything you cannot, read from a book. Something also comes because of experience. Right. And instructional designing is all based on experience. I might know all the theories. Today, if you ask me, I really do not have everything in my mind about all the theory. But you give me a piece of content and you tell me, Chaitali, which is the best way to design this, I will tell you like this. Yeah. Right? Because that is my experience. Right? So experience, most of your learning will come from experience. The more you are exposed, the more you learn. Yeah. So I would suggest any person who wants to become an instructional designer, yes, theoretical knowledge is very important, because if you don't know Bloom's taxonomy, you cannot write an objective. Right. If you cannot write an objective, then you cannot write your content. You cannot write your assessments, right? Yeah. So that information is necessary. But at the same time, become part of communities, become part of discussions. You put out, don't be afraid to ask. Right. The more you question, the more you will get answers, because there will be somebody or the other always having an answer. They might have faced the same situation that you are facing. Yeah. And they might be able to give you one pearl of wisdom which actually solves your problem. Right. I like what is happening right now. Over the past 1 year, especially, I've seen there has been a lot of synergy between instructional designers around the world, which I find is very, very good, because we are exchanging information. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So we have people like Tim Slade, Devlin Peck, Kathy Moore. There are a lot of these instructional designers who are really putting out a lot of information for instructional designers like us. Yeah. Right. Yeah. We learn from them. Yeah. And especially, Devlin Peck, I've seen he puts out a lot of YouTube videos and he's doing it free. It's like he's not charging you for it. Yeah. So I feel that is an excellent move, because we are all logging in from different parts of the world. We want to learn something like articulate storylines. Suppose I want to learn that. Right. Now, when I go and visit his videos, I can understand, because he takes you through each step. So people like that are there. And when you read their articles, read these white papers, it helps to increase your understanding. The more you explore, I always feel, the more you explore, the more you learn. Yeah. And I always keep doing this. Every day, I always put aside at least half an hour of my time. Yeah. Right. To explore something new I must learn. So end of the week, I can say at least something I've learned new. That is very important. As an instructional designer, you have, no matter how many years you have done instructional design, every day you learn something new. And the day you stop learning is the day you stop performing. Yeah. The more, keep your mind open. Always try to, learn something, explore, see what else is there. What are people talking about? Yeah. Is there something which I can learn from that? So that is very important. Yeah. And plus, don't be afraid to experiment yourself. Don't be afraid. Yeah. Ask questions, experiment. Yeah. Then only you will be able to understand. Speak to people. Speak to your friends, your colleagues. Sharing of ideas has to be there. If I know something, I should be able to share it. Yeah. If you know something, you should be able to share it. It's not that, if I keep it within myself, I am going to do any service to anyone. Yeah. So the more you share, the better it is for everyone. For you as well. See, there can be situations where I feel that, I know this, But when I'm actually implementing, it might not work because maybe there might be some technical issue in it. There might be some background thing which I missed out, which I did not understand. So if I share it, what happens? There might be somebody who has that knowledge. Chaitali, this is what you have given, but you know what? This is not going to work because of this technical issue. It has happened. A lot of it has happened that I have come up with an idea, but when I've actually gone to implement it, my technical guy has said, Chaitali, it is a good idea on paper, but there is a technical issue in this. We will not be able to do this. Then you learn from it. You look at different ways of then doing. Acha, if I still want to do it, then what are the different ways you can do it? Right? So as an ID, I would suggest that keep exploring and become part of these communities and become part of the discussions. You get to learn a lot more. And the more you write, the more you will get better at it. And don't be afraid, when we write, I remember when I wrote my first storyboard, my entire storyboard came back in red. My editor has sat and literally, she had rewritten the entire script. And I was very upset, like, oh, I put in so much of effort and look at this track change in every line, every word has been changed. So I was very upset. But then she sat with me and she explained that, Chaitali, we are not expecting the first time you do a storyboard, it has to be brilliant and it has to be all correct. I have done these changes so that you understand the changes, why it is done. Not just look at that red thing and say, oh my God, so many red lines. It's not that. It is just that understand why I have changed this. And if the more you keep open to that, the more you will learn. Initial 2-3 years, so you should only spend in learning. Do not expect to get 100% in your storyboards at that time. Because you need more exposure. You need to be able to answer. I might be a teacher.
Right.
But see, when I'm writing online, it's a very different kind of way of writing, right? When I'm writing, I'm a teacher. I know how to teach children. I know how to teach students of the university. But they are not the same as I said in corporate. My corporate learning has to be very different. Right? So I should be able to change, adapt. And thing is that no ego. That is the first thing you have to throw out of the window is the ego. I feel.
During COVID, the e-learning industry has witnessed a boom.
Yes.
So now, where do you anticipate the e-learning industry is headed?
See, the last 2.5 years has been where e-learning, as you said, has boomed. It is like really, this is where we have stood up and said, see, we do make a difference. Right? Children moved into online classes. Universities also moved into online classes. Corporate people started working from home. So e-learning came to its own place under the sun. Finally, I'm so happy for that. Because, it is always you are justifying why e-learning has to be done. Right. So now there is no justification. People know. Right. But at the same time, now we need to have a hybrid. Like that means some part of it has to be classroom, some part online, because there has set a fatigue somewhere. Like how much of e-learning will you do? Everything cannot be done e-learning. There are certain places where there is the need for having face-to-face training or in class. Like I'm telling you, I was very happy the day my kids went back to school. Right? Because there is so many things. It's not just teaching. The other things which happen in a face-to-face training or in a face-to-face classroom, that was not happening, especially my younger daughter, she had never been to school. Like she had started with school 6 months and out of that 6 months, when they're going to school first time, half of the days they don't go because obviously they're crying, they are upset, they are this, they don't want to go, they are cranky. So they don't end up going to school. And just after that COVID happened and they moved online. And so for her, there was a lot of social learning which got missed out. Whatever we can do at home, but end of the day, they need to have peer learning. Social interaction is very important. Physical interaction. Right? So my daughter learned how to write totally online. And I, as a parent, was not equipped for that. Right? If I knew how to teach her to write, I would not be sending her to school. So, the teachers were absolutely brilliant. The school was so good. The way they taught, it was so easy for us. End of it, I was proud to say that my daughter learned handwriting, which is the most crucial part of our education, online. And it was a big thing for me, because I used to teach handwriting and I know how difficult it is. So that definitely is required. But at the same time, online has to be there. We cannot ignore. There is a lot of things that needs to be done online also. What we need to do now is we need to divide. Understand which content can be done online, which content can be done. Like what we were doing earlier, blended learning, right? When I was working with Emirates, that time there was a big thing about this blended learning. So some bit of it we used to do online. Then we used to bring them into the class. They used to have discussions and face-to-face training. And then again, after the classroom training, they were brought back into the online module. And then they were given some tests, practice activities, stuff like that. So blended learning is here to stay. We cannot overlook that, because it is very important. I cannot put everything in the class. At the same time, I cannot put everything online. There has to be a mix of both. And we as instructional designers, this is where our role becomes very important, because we need to understand which content will go online, which content needs face-to-face. So our role over here becomes extremely important as instructional design, because as I said, it applies to both face-to-face or online. Our job is there always. Right? So I feel that is where it is going to go. Some of the trends that are happening now, which is very exciting. I am just seeing how virtual reality is going to become a big thing. Right. Augmented reality also is going to go step up from where it was. It is definitely going to go step up. Third, interesting, the most exciting thing that is happening in e-learning right now is the metaverse. So I'm still exploring that. I don't have much of information. I'm still exploring, but I'm very excited about that, because I feel that is the next, that's the next step which is going to come up in instructional, as in the world of learning. So virtual reality has to step up, because for metaverse to happen, we first need a very solid virtual reality technology. And once that is stabilized, metaverse is going to be the next thing in the world. After that, I don't know for the good or the worse, but definitely it is going to happen.
So we are approaching to some of the last questions from my end, and then we'll be taking the audience questions.
Sure.
So this last one, you can think of it as a 3-in-1. What is your message to aspirational IDs, new IDs, and experienced IDs?
Oh God, that is a very difficult question. Aspirational IDs, I will try and start with that. As I said, we covered this also. Like when you want to become an ID, see, you have to be very passionate about teaching and learning. That is very important. If you are not, then please keep away. Because you are going to do yourself a disservice, and whoever you work with is also going to not benefit from it.
Right.
If you want to become an instructional designer, do not become an instructional designer because that is the in thing now. Don't do it. You have to be passionate about your job, because instructional designing is not it's not, how do I say it? It is not a bricks and mortar thing. Everything is here. Right. Every day there is a lot of pressure, remember, to come up with something new. Right. So that is a big thing. Right. Every creative artist is always under pressure, because they always have to come up with something better. Something new, something innovative. So as an aspirational ID, do not think it is the easiest thing, or it is the easiest thing to do. I will sit and start writing some storyboards, and it's not that. It doesn't happen that way. You have to have some amount of passion for your work. Yeah, because sometimes it does get boring, right? You keep writing the same thing over and over and over again. You keep getting reviews, and it is very demoralizing when you get so much, when you write a storyboard with a lot of enthusiasm, and then you find that entire storyboard has been massacred by your reviewer, right? So keep that always, like, okay, there is so much to do. right? So that is important. New idea, as I said, that keep yourself open to learning. It's very important, because for a new idea, so many things happening can be a little overwhelming, because they get, especially if you are in the corporate field, because corporate field people, you might be a part of a team, right? And somebody might be talking about something and Knowles theory and Bloom's taxonomy and this, and they might be thinking, oh my God, I don't even know half of this. Half of us, we all suffer from something called the imposter syndrome, right? And I don't know, that comes from within you, and you're like, oh my God, I don't know this.
Like,
what are people talking about? You have to be confident. You might have even done it. Maybe you don't know the term for it, but you have certainly done it in your teaching, especially when teachers transition into instructional designing. They have done all of it, all of this instructional design theories, models, blah, 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 all that. But they might not be knowing that they are doing this, right? Like I said, when I'm teaching physics, the physics teacher would get, to maybe teach about that splitting of the light. Right? You pass a white light and then you have the prism and then it splits. You want to show the students how this light splits. I've done that in class. Nobody has told me. But when I look at, if I draw parallel now to instructional designing, that is my application level, Bloom's taxonomy 3. Right? I am teaching them. Actually, I'm showing them. So I can ask them, you pass this white light and see what is the result. On the wall, you will see there are 7 colors. That is application, right? But I might not be knowing that this is Bloom's level 3. Right? So that's why we know all this. But thing is that we do not know that it is this. So try to bring that parallel and understand everything just need to bring it forth, right? For senior instructional designers, it's your job. It's your job to guide, mentor new IDs. It's very important, because unless we mentor senior IDs, because we have been there, we have seen the market, we have worked on it, we have learned, because we have not done any certification. Most of us, we have not done any college education on instructional design, right? We have learned on the job. So I feel that is the best way to learn, right? Because you have learned on the job, you have faced different situations, you have faced different clients. So it is your job to pass on that knowledge to the person who is there, who is reporting to you as a new ID. Please always find somebody to mentor, to inform. Put it out there. The knowledge that you have, please share. Because the more you share, the more people will learn from it. Everything cannot be earned. As in, you don't get money for everything. There are certain parts which you will have to share without expecting that somebody is going to pay you for. Right? Like, as I said, I had taken names of Tim Slade and Devlin Peck, right? So they are actually putting it out over there. They don't expect to be paid for it, right? Most of the information that they're giving. Yes, they have workshops which you can take, which you pay for. But most of the information that they share is where it is free, right? Anybody can access. So that is where I think our responsibility as senior IDs, we need to do that more. Share our information. Share. Maybe it is just one line, but share that. It's very important. Mentoring is very important. Plus, at the same time, keep learning. What is there next? What can I do? There is a lot of pressure of performing. So what else can I do? See, everything theory. I have learned a lot of theory, if you ask me. But thing is that, have I applied everything that I've learned? No. There is so much to do. Every day there is something, a new challenge. How do you face that? Right? And you inspire your team members to follow you. Set an example. Right. Yeah. I hope I have answered that question.
Yes, brilliant. Yeah. So you have to always be learning, and you have to be confident, and you have to mentor.
Yes, that is very important.
Yes.
And don't lose confidence. It's very important,
Yes.
You have to be confident. Okay, I know this. I need to stand by it. I need to be able to defend what I have done.
Right.
But at the same time, I should not be so close that I cannot take somebody else's inputs.
Yes.
Right? So if I might be doing it right, I have to stand by it, defend my design, but at the same time be open to, if there is some mistake, be confident enough to own up.
Right.
That, yeah, I feel, see, I'm telling a small example I can tell you. Recently, in one of my earlier organization, we were doing one particular project and we were having discussions. So we thought we had done a brilliant job in the design, blah, blah, blah. Instructional theory was like the theory of there. So strategy was really good enough. So when we were having a discussion with our designer, visual designer, he said, he just suggested that, Chaitali, are you all doing any scenario-based activity? Because it was a system.
Right.
We were teaching a system,
Right.
a new system which has to be done. And, it struck me immediately, right? That is where I missed out. I made them do everything, but I had missed out, including a scenario which would have actually enhanced my strategy. Because when I am the learners put in that scenario, it is what he is doing right now. Why is he doing that system? So how is that system going to help? So the moment he said that, it clicked immediately. Yes, you are right. I should. So I went back to the drawing board and I included a scenario over there, and we rewrote that storyboard, that section of it. And it worked so brilliantly. So that is what I'm saying. Like, you should be always open, not that I have done this, oh, this is the end. No.
Right. Right.
Be open to taking inputs, because sometimes it might actually make your work better. Whether you say it or not, that is different. But at least, it is better.
Yeah.
End of the day, my work has to be good.
Right.
It should attain what it has to do. So I feel that is very important.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's take some audience questions. How to measure or quantify the effectiveness of training programs delivered? What KPI are looked into? This is from Ranjit.
Oh, okay. So I feel that is, we had spoken briefly about Kirkpatrick's evaluation, right?
Right.
So as we said in the beginning, let me go back to again. Now, action mapping is something which has become my favorite now.
Yeah.
So I pick it up every time I get an opportunity.
Right.
So that is very important. Before you start with your development, your training, even before you start your design, the first thing you need to know is, what is this training going to change? So you have to go back to the client. You have to tell them, what are you expecting? Like, I will go back to my example of it. That was a hypothetical example which I had given about Emirates Airlines. Okay. That was not actually what had happened. So we went back over there. We told them, asked them, okay, the check-in people, they were doing it. Say they're supposed to do it in 5 minutes. They were taking around 7 to 8 minutes. So when you see the build up at the end of the day, that they're losing around 3 to 4 hours a day doing the checking in process. So we need to set a goal over there. How much are you expecting to improve? Do you think that this training is going to maybe change 10% of the loss that we are having, to cut it down by 10%, right? So if I am losing, say, maybe 3 hours a day, so that means if I take the training, I should be able to cut down, at least I should bring it down to 2 hours, yeah, or 2.5 hours. So over a period, when I keep doing this, it will keep changing, and I will cut down on the hours that I am losing, right? So when you are doing this, you have set a goal that the training should help me to cut down my losses by 10%. You have done your training, you have designed it accordingly, you have done your training. I always suggest that end of it, do not just launch it, do a pilot program. Right. Now, convince your client that let's do a pilot program, let us see. Mostly all clients know they like to do a beta test with a selected group to see if there is any impact. Because if there is something before they launch, we can always come back and do some changes. Right. Like, because once it is launched, then it's only over a period that you keep doing maintenance and all that. But actual changing of the content doesn't happen, right? So suggest to your client that let us do a beta test and take the readings from that, the findings from there. Evaluation. So you do an evaluation, you find out what is the change. Take that beta feedback, implement it back into your learning. If you need to change something, go back to the drawing board, do the change, and then you will launch. Now, once you launch it, people will start using it. Go back 3 months later. That is how an evaluation should be planned actually. Because hardly what happens is, as vendors, sadly, this does not happen. Now, as vendors, we just get to design and implement. That's it.
Yeah.
What we need to do is we need to build a relation with the client saying that we would like to evaluate this.
Right.
That is up to us. We will evaluate. 3 months later, let us talk to those people, their line managers. Has there been any improvement? After doing this training, has there been an improvement? What is that improvement that they have done? See, line managers would definitely have some business numbers, right? Everybody, end of the day, we all look for numbers. So they would be having some numbers, like, okay, this team, say team A, has actually cut down losses by half an hour.
Right.
So that has achieved our goal of 10%, right? 3 hours ka 10% is 30 minutes, right? So 30 minutes we have cut down. So it has come down now to 2.5 hours. So we are looking forward, like, okay, once they keep doing this, keep practicing, they will get better at it. We have also looked at fastening the system. So end of it, we are getting the result that we want. So that is how you have to set that in the beginning. Make a plan with your client, do an evaluation and see what is the result.
Right.
Then only you will be able to measure or evaluate the value of your training. If nothing has happened,
right,
then we need why we do the training, right?
Right.
The organization had some money to spend, so they have done it, and we had to get money, so we got paid.
Right.
So I feel that is very important, setting the goal right in the beginning, then going back later and seeing whether it has actually done. You can do a 3 months, you can do a 6 months. That is according to your plan.
Right.
We go according to that and see what is the improvement.
Taha Sheikh is asking, if we don't need training, won't that create a conflict with the BD team?
What it connects with what we said just now.
Yeah.
Organization has money to spend, we need money to earn.
Right.
So we do it.
Yeah.
But I would tell Taha that as a consultant, your job is to consult the client. Yes, but at the same time, you need to also understand how your organization is going to get benefit from it.
Right.
There might be two things. See, it might help you build a longer relation with the client because the client knows that you are thinking for them.
Right.
So they come back to you. As I said, you change from an order taker to a trust partner. So you are taking orders, you are just, oh, okay, you need a training program, I will do it. Who are the learners? Okay, these are the induction programs. So, okay, I'll do it. At the same time, induction programs, obviously, you need some kind of training to be done, right? You can, but at the same, you can become a trusted partner with your client because the client knows that you're not going to take them for a ride.
Right.
You have their interest in mind. It goes to building a longer relation. Having said that, not necessarily that you have to do a training for it. Gyan nahi batu. You might tell them that let's design a practice activity session with them. Give them a lot of practices. You are still getting business, right?
Yeah.
You are telling them that I'm not going to give gyan to them. What I will do is I will design practice activities so that they can practice. And as and when they get stuck somewhere, we'll give them information there. So your design has to be different. Of your learning solution will be different.
Yeah.
But like, as I said, it was like that hypothetical example I had given. It was the system which was making a problem.
Right.
But at the same time, these people need to keep understanding, like if the person does not have checklist, 10 documents,
right.
I need to understand that out of these 10, even if he has these 4, my work still gets done.
Right.
I don't need all the 10. That is because the company says that you need 10.
Right.
I might be able to do the same task using those 4 documents. So that information also I can give them, right? So those training solution then becomes just in time, bite-sized learning, which you can recommend to your client. Instead of doing a 1-hour course, I will give them bite-sized, say 4 programs,
right,
which they can learn at that time. So your BD is taken off, right?
Right.
They still get business.
Right.
Your client comes back to you saying that, okay, this person really thinks for me,
right,
and they are interested in my money also.
Right.
So I will go back to them next time when I have a training because I got good response from them.
Right.
And you design those practice activities. So you're still getting business out of it. It's just not that the way the client has told you to do it.
Right.
You're doing it the way which is actually, you have to always, what is the learner going to do? Why do I need this? What was I doing earlier which is not working that I need to change now? Will this training do it? Or should I map my training in such a way that it will help them do it? Right? So that is where we have to look at now as instructional design. And that is going to become a trend moving forward because that is what clients see. It's not that instructional designers, we are only reading all this, we are discussing it. Even the clients are discussing. They also come to know, they are also becoming smart. Right? Then they will come to you and they will tell you, are you ready for it? You have to be ready before they come to you with that.
Right. One last question from Ranjit again. There are many certification programs in ID. Which program is effective in terms of knowledge, cost, and industry recognition?
This is something which you will have to find because, as I said, I have not done all these technical or formal certification, except I have done that L&D professional certification from Aon. It was more from perspective of, understanding the business. Like when the client comes to you, what do they have in mind when they come to you for a training requirement? Right? So I had done that certification from that perspective, right, to get an understanding. Certifications, there are many actually. I think Purnima also does some certifications for IDs. She has different levels, level 1, 2, and 3. So depending on which level you are at, you could have a discussion with her. She's always willing to help. She's brought out a book also, which you might take a look at. So those are the things, but I really don't think certification will only help. Yeah. As I said, there is a lot of information that is there freely available in the internet. Try reading from there. Yes, a certification does not harm because obviously that is always adds on to your resume, right? But at the same time, does not certify that what you are doing is right. You just have theoretical knowledge. As an instructional designer, unless you have Bloom's taxonomy level 3, 4, 5, nothing will help you. No amount of certification will help you.
Right.
So I cannot recommend any particular certification, but I can tell you what I have done. So that might give you a starting point, and then you can check out. There are a lot of certifications which are available now. Some of them are from the international universities are there. So see which way you want to go. I would suggest that as a precaution, always when you are doing, see which type of instructional designing you would want to do. Whether you want to go into higher education or you want to go into corporate learning. Because there are certain courses which are there, when I have read the reviews, they have come back saying, they were concentrating more on higher education. But I wanted to do something for corporate learning. So it didn't serve my purpose. I came to know of it only when I signed up for the program. And I spent my money already on it. So I would suggest do a little bit of research in the market and see which programs are there for corporate learning. If you are interested in corporate. If you are interested in higher learning education, then you go into that kind of certification. But as such, if you ask me, I have no idea about which certification is the best in the industry. Your experience is the best certification that you have.
So we have come to almost the end of the program. And thank you, Chaitali, for giving us your time, that too on a Sunday morning.
It was a pleasure.
It was our pleasure learning from your experience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suchit, for having me for your first guest. And I wish you all the best. I will be catching the episodes going forward.
Thank you, Chaitali.
Learning from me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for encouraging. And thank you to our audience They have been brilliant with so many insightful questions. Request everyone to please like, share, and subscribe to encourage the channel. And see you again next Sunday at 11 a.m.
Sure. Looking forward to it, the next episode.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you
you, Chaitali. Thank you so much.
Bye.